Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone. You know, we live in a world that really, really celebrates the loud ones.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when you think about winning, whether that's in a boardroom, a debate, or even just, I don't know, navigating a stressful family holiday, we usually picture the person who commands the
Right.
space.
The aggressor.
Yeah, the one who speaks first, speaks loudest, dominates the negotiation.
It's that classic alpha archetype,
Yeah.
the silverback gorilla pounding its chest.
Yeah,
We are just so conditioned to think that noise equals power.
exactly. But today, we're going to completely flip that script. We're looking at a source that argues true strength can actually look like total silence.
Which is such a counterintuitive idea.
It really is. We are unpacking a personality profile that wins not by conquering the chaos, but by outlasting it. Now, today we're diving deep into the FSU profile, the quiet fighter.
This is a fascinating profile. It really challenges everything we think we know about leadership and resilience.
Yeah.
And just to give everyone listening the right roadmap here, this analysis comes straight from the Max Energy ME80 personality system.
Right. And before we get into the specific nuts and bolts of the quiet fighter, we should probably set the stage on what that system actually is, because, I mean, it's not just your standard Myers-Briggs or introversion test.
No, not at all. The Max Energy ME80 system is really about mechanics. It looks at the physics of human personality.
The physics.
Yeah, literally how you process energy, how you handle emotion, and how you make decisions under pressure. It treats the personality like an engine. And the quiet fighter, which is coded as FSCU in this system, they have a very specific, very unique engine.
An engine that basically runs on silent.
An engine that runs on inward contraction.
Inward contraction. Okay, I definitely want to hold that thought because we need to get into the mechanics of that in a minute. But first, let's establish who this person actually is. The report has this hero section with a core declaration that honestly gave me chills.
That's a great line.
It says the quiet fighter, quote, exchanges silence for strength, holding ground through quiet endurance until victory emerges.
Exchanges silence for strength. That right there is the key to the whole mystery of this profile.
So how do we define them then? If they aren't the loud, aggressive leader, what are they doing?
Well, they're defined as a stability-first, pressure-absorbing, long-term defensive type. Now, when I say defensive, don't hear that and think, insecure or reactive.
Like they're being defensive in an argument.
Right, not that. Think military strategy.
Oh, like a fortress.
Exactly. They aren't the cavalry charging into the field with swords drawn. They are the bunker that survives the bombing. Their biological imperative, essentially, isn't to claim the stage or voice their opinion immediately. Their top priority is to stabilize the system.
So while everyone else is freaking out or jockeying for position or trying to be the smartest person in the room, the quiet fighter is doing what?
They are digesting.
Digesting.
Yeah, that's a term the report uses heavily. They digest internal pressure rather than exploding outward.
Digesting pressure. That sounds intense.
It is incredibly intense. When chaos hits, they just don't add to the noise. They absorb it. They basically become a human shock absorber.
Okay, but how, we all feel pressure. How do they just absorb it without snapping? Because the report talks about this control mechanism based on global vision. What does that actually mean in plain English?
So this is where their core philosophy comes in. The quiet fighter operates on a belief system of global vision and control. Imagine you're in a really heated meeting. Arguments are flying. Egos are getting bruised. The quiet fighter mentally steps back. They retreat to the margins of the room.
So they just check out.
No. And that is the biggest mistake people make about them. They aren't checking out at all. They are zooming out. They trade being the center of attention for what the report calls emotional cooling.
The emotional cooling.
Right. And the logic here is fascinating. They believe that as long as the system, whether that's the team, the family, the company, as long as that system continues to function, their own personal discomfort can be deferred.
Wow. So it's like, I can handle feeling terrible right now if it keeps the ship from sinking.
Precisely. To you on the outside, they look warm, reliable, maybe even a little passive. But inside, they are actively holding the structure together by deferring their own needs. They contain the weight internally so the group doesn't have to.
That is a wildly different way of operating than most of us are used to. I want to pause here and really look under the hood. You mentioned the code earlier, FASU, and the report talks about this energy matrix with layers like IP, IQ, and EQ.
Yes, the 3 layers.
Now, normally when I hear IQ, I think, intelligence tests, and when I hear EQ, I think empathy. Is that what we're talking about here?
It's a great question, but you actually have to park your traditional definitions at the door for this one. In the max energy system, these aren't scores you get on a standardized test.
Yeah.
They are the gears in that engine we talked about.
Okay, gears. I like that visual. So how does the quiet fighter's engine run?
Okay, imagine a typical alpha leader. Their engine is built for expansion. They push energy out into the room. They project. The FASU, the quiet fighter, is the exact inverse. Their engine is built for inward contraction.
Inward contraction. I mean, that sounds kind of small, like they're shrinking.
Not shrinking,
Yet.
densifying.
Densified.
Think of it like a star collapsing into a super dense object. It's not weak, it's incredibly heavy and stable. It has gravity.
Okay, that is a much cooler image.
Yeah.
So walk me through these gears, these layers. Let's start with IP, the inner value layer. What is the IP doing in this dense engine?
So IP is usually about energy activation and initiation. It's the spark plug. But for the quiet fighter, this spark is linked to that inward contraction. Their go button isn't about launching a new initiative loudly. It's about activating that internal containment field.
So the spark goes in.
Right. It activates their ability to hold.
Okay, and then we have the IQ layer. In this system, that's the emotional activation layer. But you said earlier they are emotional coolers, so how does that work?
This is the really tricky part to wrap your head around. For the quiet fighter, the IQ layer functions as structural and principled judgment. Even though it's labeled the emotional layer in the diagram, for them, it provides the logic. It's the framework.
Wait, so when things get emotional, they get logical.
They get structural. Think of it as the beam of steel inside a concrete pillar. When a storm hits, they don't feel the wind blowing them around. They feel the strain on the building, and they instantly reinforce the walls.
Got it. So IP activates the containment, IQ provides the structural steel. Now what about EQ, the decision calculation layer?
This is the critical component. This is the heavy lifter. The EQ function here is emotional carrying and stabilization.
Emotional carrying, I mean, that just sounds exhausting.
It is exactly where they do their hardest work. They use this layer to calculate how to stabilize the room. They aren't just feeling emotions, they're carrying the emotions of the others involved so that the situation doesn't collapse.
It's almost like being the designated driver, but for feelings.
That is a perfect analogy. They stay sober so everyone else can be messy.
Wow. And finally, there's the manifestation layer, which is what the world actually sees.
Exactly. And because of all that internal work, the spark going in, the steel structure, the carrying of all that weight, what manifests outwardly is a lack of projection.
Yeah.
They absorb, they integrate. They don't try to take up space, they hold the space together.
So we have this incredible, dense, stabilizing engine. Now let's look at the deep analysis of their inner traits. The report discusses this intrinsic quality of quiet steadying and pressure bearing.
Yes. Their motto is essentially, stabilize the situation first, tend to self later.
But what is their superpower here? Because it really feels like they are doing a massive amount of heavy lifting that literally nobody sees. If they're so quiet, how do they even know when to act?
Their superpower is a high sensitivity to system dynamics. Because they are so relentlessly focused on stability, they can detect relational fractures, basically, shifts in the atmosphere long before anyone else does.
Relational fracture.
Yeah, it's like hearing a tiny microscopic crack in a windshield before the whole thing shatters. They sense when the vibe in a team is off or when a partner is silently pulling away.
And so they just jump in to fix it.
They jump in to buffer it. They proactively adopt buffering roles.
Yeah.
And here's a really key distinction the report makes. And I want everyone listening to really hear this because it's where we almost always get the quiet fighter wrong. Patience is not weakness.
Say that again?
Patience is not weakness. For the quiet fighter, patience is a calculated judgment. They have decided that the moment does not yet allow for dissolution. They aren't waiting because they are scared to fight. They're waiting because they know if they act right now, everything falls apart.
That reframes everything. It's not that they can't fight. It's that they are actively choosing not to break the system yet. They're buying time for a better outcome.
Exactly.
But, and you have to play devil's advocate here for a second, swallowing the pressure, carrying the weight, deferring their own needs, that sounds noble in theory, but in practice. That sounds physically and mentally damaging. I mean, we have all had those moments where we bite our tongue to keep the peace and it ruins our entire day. Are you saying the quiet fighter does this constantly?
Constantly. And your skepticism is totally spot on. The report actually calls this out. It's their shadow blind spot. And the term they use is long-term internal depletion.
Depletion, that sounds like a battery just running out.
It's actually worse. It's a difference between a sprint and a marathon. If you sprint, you're tired for an hour. The quiet fighter is running a marathon of emotional suppression. They are layering grievance upon grievance, pushing it deeper and deeper into their heart center.
So they aren't letting it go. They aren't actually zen about the whole thing.
No, not at all. They are storing it. They're prioritizing the stability of the external world over their own internal world. By keeping things stable, they completely neglect their own boundaries. And the report warns that this leads to a cooling.
A cooling. That is a really chilling word. What does that actually look like?
It's when the connection is finally severed. Unprocessed emotion accumulates over time until it forms this hidden exhaustion. Outwardly, they still look serene, they look totally fine. But inwardly, they are approaching zero.
So they don't explode.
They usually don't explode, they implode, or they turn off. It's literally like a light switch.
Which leads perfectly into the social dynamics section. The report talks about underestimated boundaries. I feel like this happens to quiet fighters all the time because of that nice guy or nice girl persona.
Oh, all the time. Because they appear gentle, conflict-averse, and just really easy to get along with, people automatically cast them as the mediator, the soother.
Oh, just go talk to Sarah. She never gets mad. She'll listen to you.
Right. And the fundamental misunderstanding is that people assume the quiet fighter has no boundaries. They mistake silence for agreement.
Oh, wow.
But the reality is, their silence is a deliberate, strategic choice to prevent chaos. It's not a lack of opinion.
And then comes the surprise.
Exactly. The report notes that when a quiet fighter finally does cool off or withdraws, it catches people completely off guard.
Like, where did that come from? You were totally fine yesterday.
Right.
Warning for anyone living with or working with this type of personality. Just because they aren't shouting doesn't mean they aren't struggling. But let's flip this back to the positive, because if you can manage that shadow side, this personality is incredibly valuable. Let's pivot to the business value. What does a quiet fighter bring to a company?
The value is massive, especially in the modern workplace where everything is so volatile. The report specifically highlights long-term stabilization and emotional carrying.
Let's apply this to a real office scenario, because I think a lot of managers might easily overlook this person. They aren't the ones raising their hands first in the brainstorm.
Exactly. And that is the biggest mistake managers make. Picture this. You're in a startup. The product launch just failed. The investors are screaming. Sales are tanking. Half the team is quietly updating their resumes on LinkedIn. The office is literally vibrating with anxiety.
My absolute nightmare scenario.
Right. In that room, the quiet fighter is the only one who is not vibrating. They are the anchor.
So they aren't fixing the code necessarily. They're fixing the mood.
They are carrying the emotional weight that would otherwise completely crush the team. The report calls it buffering. They absorb that panic so the developer sitting next to them can actually stop shaking and write the code. They prevent the whole system from collapsing due to a single imbalance. They keep the lights on when everyone else is running for the exit.
That is invaluable. You literally cannot put a price tag on that kind of stability. And based on that, the report actually recommends specific professional fields where this personality really shines. What's on that list?
There are 4 key areas where they excel. First, naturally, is team stabilization and emotional support, acting as that steady anchor to alleviate internal anxiety, like we just talked about.
Which every single team needs, but very few job descriptions actually list.
Very true. Second is long-term project shepherding.
Shepherding, I really like that word. It implies guidance, but also protection.
And endurance. This fits perfectly because they don't need the constant dopamine hit of a quick win. They can handle the absolute monotony of a 2-year project implementation without losing their focus. They can grind it out.
What else?
Now, this one is a bit counterintuitive. Client relationship maintenance. But specifically for managing high-difficulty complaints and emotionally volatile clients.
Really? I would have thought they'd want to avoid angry people at all costs just to protect their own peace.
You would think so, but remember their absorb and digest capability. If you send a loud alpha personality to deal with an angry client, you get an explosion. Fire meets fire.
Right. A huge argument ensues.
But if you send a quiet fighter, they absorb the heat. They don't fire back. They let the client vent. They stabilize the emotion, and ultimately they save the account. They are simply the best at de-escalation.
That makes total sense. They don't add any fuel to the fire.
Exactly. And finally, roles requiring immense patience, like a chief administrative officer or really high-level behind-the-scenes support. The person who makes sure the machine actually runs while the CEO is out making flashy speeches.
It's the person behind the curtain making sure the wizard looks good.
Ideally, yes.
You know, as we wrap this up, I'm just struck by how much we undervalue this specific kind of strength in our society. We celebrate the sprinter, but we completely ignore the person carrying the water for the marathon. We look for the loudest voice, and we miss the most stable presence.
We do. And the report sums it up beautifully in the conclusion with this golden sentence. It really captures the essence of the quiet fighter. It says, "The quiet fighter's strength does not lie in vocally claiming victory, but in continuously standing firm. They preserve relationships and systems inch by inch through quiet means."
Inch by inch, that's how they win.
True victory, for them, means allowing time to gradually move toward the right direction without dissolution, without collapse. That is their win condition, not breaking things.
That is a profoundly powerful place to leave it. A huge thank you to the Max Energy ME80 Personality Assessment Report for providing the foundation for this incredible deep dive. This really isn't just personality theory. It feels like a guide to understanding the people who silently hold our world together.
Absolutely. It's a very rigorous system, and it really opens your eyes to the different forms that power can take.
If you, the listener, want to understand your own energy profile, maybe find out if you're a quiet fighter or if you're the one causing the chaos they constantly have to absorb, you can find more information at their official website, www.maxenergylife.com.
You can also search for them on Facebook under Max Energy S or Meta Energy Esho.
Definitely
Go check that out. And to all the quiet fighters out there who are holding it down, keeping the systems running, and absorbing the pressure so the rest of us can function, we see you, we appreciate you, and please take a break. Don't let that internal battery run all the way to empty. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time.